Oh, the camera there.
Camera don't see you standing here.
So I have to be in the camera.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning. I have to tell you guys how lucky you are that you got a chance to work in Merced lab. Yeah. Just be happy and be productive. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce next speaker, Dr. Wang. He actually volunteered to contact me quite some time ago.
In February or March sometime,
So
around the corner.
We awarded this USDA grant, and he noticed that.
The news is everywhere.
News is everywhere.
I saw that on the San Francisco Chronicle newspaper.
Oh, that's another
Yep.
project. Okay. And then he contacted, he offered to come to give a talk about what's going on in China, agriculture with big data. I found it very interesting. So we kept communicating until today. Now he's here. Dr. Wang is a chief scientist of this GAGO, agriculture big data company based in San Francisco and Beijing. And Dr. Wang served as associate editor of Energy and Sustainable Development. He's very academic. And prior to starting at the GAGO, Dr. Wang was a research scientist at LBL, Berkeley Lab. It's now known as Berkeley Lab. As a senior engineer at several international consulting companies and a postdoc at the UC Berkeley. Dr. Wang has been confirmed the U.S. Department of Energy Spot Recognition Award, A&WMA Outstanding PhD Dissertation Award, and so on. And Dr. Wang has published more than 70 peer-reviewed scientific papers, served as a review for 20 top-tier journals, and has been invited to deliver more than 30 presentations at the international conferences and the professional associations. I have to say that that's very impressive numbers. You do it when you are that age. Okay, you found it very hard to do. And Dr. Wang completed his PhD in civil and environmental engineering at Clarkson University. Anybody knows where Clarkson is?
Anybody knows where Syracuse is?
Yeah,
it's 1.5 hour drive from Syracuse in upstate New York.
And he also received bachelor's degree from Tsinghua University, one of the top one. Many of you have heard Chinese visitors from Tsinghua.
Thank you.
Nice to have you.
Thank you for the intro. Very glad to be here today. Long story short, Professor Chen just gave a recap, and I saw the news, like our university won the USDA grant in early March, and I just volunteered and saying, is there any opportunity I can come over and I talk with the students and professor about what we are doing at GAGO, a Silicon Valley-based big data agriculture company, and also what my previous research is about. And Dr. Chen said, contact me again in May, and you might have the opportunity. So I wrote him an email in early June, and today I'm here. So I was trained as an environmental engineer. So I had my bachelor degree, master degree, and a PhD degree all in civil and environmental engineering. So I have been studying for the environment, air, water, solid waste, solar radiation, all this kind of things in the past 10 years. I just learned agriculture 3 years ago because I found the technology, the knowledge I know can be applied to this very old-fashioned, one of the oldest industry on this planet. So I and my co-founder and 2 other co-founders work at NASA, a national lab located in Silicon Valley. We started this company in 2014. And we have been running that for a little over a year. And then eventually we moved that company back to Beijing, China. And the company right now is up and running. We have 70 people. And we just closed our Series A funding with Silicon Valley-based VC backup. So there are a couple of opportunities for you guys. So we are hiring interns all year round. So if you are interested in learning more about China agriculture, or want to spend a few months overseas in China, in Mongolia, or even in Bangladesh, and feel free to contact me. and we provide some basic stipend, food and lodging. That's opportunity for you guys. And our Silicon Valley office right now is still small. We have 3 people. Majority of the operation are in China. Okay, so today's talk, the topic is agriculture in China, past, present, and the future. I know the topic is very broad. So in today's 1 hour presentation time, I'm gonna show you guys 3 different sections. The first one is, of course, history of China agriculture. The second one is the startup opportunity. And if you want to do something as a startup founder, and where you should go for the funding, how you should secure your first batch of customer, and how you should do your marketing and the sales. And the third one is just a very short introduction of the service we are providing in China. So that's the 3 different parts of the contents we're going to talk about. All right, do we have a clicker?
You have to press.
I have to press. Okay, let me stand over here. Okay. How many of you have been to China before? Raise your hand. 1. I know you. I know you're from China. Okay. Just 2 students? No more? Okay. So I'm going to give you several snapshots of the China history in the past 2,000 years. And the first one is called a spring and autumn period. In China, we call that 春秋, right? 朝代. That's before the century, 公元前, 700 to 480 years. So during that time, and there's some large-scale irrigation projects already started. And this picture shows one of the most famous one called Dujiangyan in China. And it's one of the large-scale harnessing of rivers projects located in the southwestern of China. And the people trying to develop the water conservation projects in order to increase their yield. And the Han Dynasty, that's about 200 years later, and there's some advancement in the agriculture equipment in terms of the irrigation. So it's called a hydraulic powered trip hammer. It's very large. The wheel actually is very large. It's actually much larger than the one shown over here. It's about 20 to 30 feet tall. And in some very rural area right now, they're still running. And also there's a different shape of that. It's called a square pellet chain pump. So those are the 2 most popular ones. Eastern Jin, Dongjin, that's 370 to 420. And the Northern and the Southern Dynasty, Nanbei Chao. Okay. Rice grown twice a year, and cattle used for plowing and fertilization. So the farmers, they're trying to leverage and utilize some help from the large animals rather than the pure manpower. Tang Dynasty, 600 years to 900 years, and the Yuan Dynasty. Like the picture shown right here, it's a woman. It's running a cotton planting and weaving technology wheel to make cloth, basically. And Qingming and Yuan Dynasty, the rise of collective help of organizations between farmers. So they do this thing called a co-op in the US. The farmers trying to help each other so that they can conquer and beat with the weather challenges. Okay, this is more recent. The People's Republic of China was created in 1949. So that's when the modern China was born. And in the first 7 years of the People's Republic of China, the government, they take the ownership or the control of the farmland and they give it to the 300 million of the farmers. So each single farmer, they have their own control of their farmland. And the farmers, each single farmer, they combine their very small scale farmland into large scale so they can crop like one single crop for one specific large area region, which gives them a higher yield. And the government operated collective farm is very popular during that time too. 10 years later, it's called the Great Leap Forward, 大跃进. Okay. It's not, okay. So have you ever heard about the Great Chinese Famine? Yeah. So 20 to 40 million people died during that 7-year time period because of the weather, also because of the way they cultivate their land. So that's a moment we don't want to go back. And the 4 modernization campaigns, 四化, 1978 to 1994. Family production responsibility system, 家庭联产承包责任制. And they encourage irrigation projects, mechanization and fertilizer use, liberalize agriculture pricing and marketing, abolish the 40-year-old grain ration system, 计划经济. They abolished that. Recent agriculture reforms in China in the past 15 years. Artificial increase of grain prices above the market levels, governance grain bag responsibility system. For each state or city level government, they have their own plan, they have their own budget, they have their own milestones they have to reach. And the forced separation is the one perfection program. Farmers displaced to become migrant labor into the factories, into the cities. So there will be fewer and fewer farmers in the countryside to actually work in the farmland. Push into the organic agriculture and net importer of grain. So that has been happening in the China agriculture sectors in the past 15 years. So some limitations for China agriculture. As you know, China only have the 10% of the worldwide arable land, but they feed 20% of the world population. So it has been a historical huge problem for the China government, China farmers to, facing those type of challenge every day. And as you know, by 2050, and we have to double our crop yield so that we can feed another extra 25 million population. And how we can do this? Now, one way to do it is using a precision agriculture technology Professor Ali just mentioned. Okay, some food crop brief introduction. 75% of the cultivated land in China actually right now is utilized for food. And rice, the most important crop, occupied 25% of the arable land in China. And wheat, the second most prevalent grape crops is in China. And corn, potato, oat as well. And in southern part of China, some tropical fruits, apple and pears are also popular. And oilseed, soybeans and peanuts, and sesame seed, sunflower seed, and rapeseed, citrus, tea, sugar cane, and sugar beets, lotus, Arabic coffee. It's a comparison table between China and the US. It's a little small. So the blue are actually the US, and the red are China. And let's just focus the bottom 2 lines. So that's the total weight in tons of each type of crop, like China and the US, they produce annually. For grain, cotton, that's the second and third column. The results are comparable. But for sugar cane and the fruits, China actually produce much more than the US. And interesting to see is for the tea and the US, we don't produce any tea at all, based on the government data. Okay, let's switch our gear a little bit, and let's travel back to San Francisco, Silicon Valley. How many of you have ever heard about a company called Climate Corporation? Very good. So that's a company acquired by Monsanto in late 2013, early 2014 with $1.1 billion. So that company, Climate Corporation, started in 2006 by 2 ex-Googlers. They are research scientists at that time working at Google. And they were thinking about, okay, my life is boring, and we have this much more money, we should do something else more interesting. So those 2 guys, they started this company. In 2006, they are not called themselves the Climate Corporation. They have a different name called a Weather Bill. So in the first 4 years, between 2006 and 2010, they were doing not agriculture, a totally different industry, but using the same data, weather data. They're terracing ski resorts, like the one in Lake Tahoe. They're providing a weather forecast for the ski owner and telling them like three months later, you will have a huge snow, so you will have more visitor, you will earn more money. If that doesn't happen, and they collaborate with other insurance, you will have insurance supported, so you don't have to fully responsible for your loss. The company has been really struggle. So in the year of 2010, they received their Series B funding from Google Venture. And there's a guy at Google Venture told them, hey guys, you should do something different. and you should switch your gear and work on a much larger market, which is agriculture. So they pivot their service model a little bit, still using their same data set, satellite remote sensing, and global weather simulation results. Still using the same data sets, but they start to servicing some farmers in California and Iowa as well, the corn growers. So only 3 years, they were acquired by Monsanto with $1.1 billion, with only 70 employees.
Wow.
So this is really, really amazing. And this is another chart, and it's showing, let me explain from this angle. So there are two different lines, the blue line and the orange line. The blue line actually is the number of articles on the internet mentioning about Monsanto or Climate Corporation. You can see there is a huge spike at late 2013 and early 2014. That's when the acquisition from Monsanto happened. So there's a huge spike. And after that, it's quite stable. And in more recent year, there's some attractions and noise in the internet as well regarding Climate Corporation. But it's very interesting to see the entire agriculture technology. If you use that, the keyword, and you Google it, you will see there are more and more articles popping up in the internet. And in 2016, 1 year alone, it's a historical spike. And it's becomes the next, it becomes the next frontier or the next emerging market for the venture capitalists to jump in and invest and encourage entrepreneurs to do agriculture technology services. This is a very good data visualization showing 70 plus agriculture technology companies and doing different kind of agriculture services, ranging from the next generation farms, pretty much organic farms, animal data, smart irrigation, sensors, robotics and UAV, marketplaces, precision ag, and a predictive analysis, big data analysis, and farm management softwares. And one of the big names is FarmLogs, based in Michigan. So those are the 70 plus very good agriculture technology companies. And over half of them are actually from Silicon Valley in the San Francisco area. And 60% of them are in California. And they're changing the entire industry. It's so small. Sorry guys, the font is so small. So you should be able to see a Bayer right here, Syngenta over here, BASF over there, and the Monsanto Growth Venture right here. So those are the key companies who are searching the next generation disrupting agriculture technologies. They are trying to buy those companies and also make their own company pivot to the next emerging market. And the Y Combinator and the Monsanto Growth Venture are the two most active ones in the past 4 years. They acquired a lot of Series A, Series B companies with a very high evaluation. Agriculture technology quarterly global financing histories. In the past quarter, in 2017, 1 quarter alone, there are 52 deals happened. When I say deals, it means your company either goes to IPO, a publicly traded company, or your company got acquired by a large ones. So 1 quarter alone, 52 companies. And the amount of fundings is $216 million US. All right, so third part, let's switch our gear one more time the last time. Let's see what GAGO is doing and how China agriculture is emerging right now and what type of service we're providing. So we're using satellite remote sensing technology, 75%, and also some UAV technology, and also coupled with big data analytics, try to lift the gate for digital agriculture industry in China. So some key elements. So our core team, 4 people, we were all born in China. We all came to the US for higher education. We all worked for actually 5 to 10 years in the Silicon Valley as either engineer or scientist. We all have a passion of our homeland. So we decided to do something for China. And agriculture is our first choice. And I was working between 2011 and 2014 at one of the DOE national labs called the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, located at UC Berkeley. And I was there as a research scientist doing some environmental data manipulation, global simulation results. And one of my key co-founders, and he was a research scientist at NASA National Lab, and doing large-scale, global-scale satellite remote sensing technology and image processing. So we're thinking about, okay, our technology can be combined, and let's try something different. So we started this company in 2014, and we're trying to leverage satellite, weather, environment, and use that in agriculture, and couple it with the state-of-the-art machine learning, deep learning technology. So one sentence describes the company is GAGO is a big data company providing environmental and agriculture data collection, process, analysis, forecast, and the data visualization services, mainly for China right now. But we're expanding our service to another different country. Like last month, we just acquired our first customer in Australia, and there's one more in New Zealand coming up in next month. Snapshot of a core team. So we have 4 people, and I'm the third guy in the middle. The first one, Dr. Zhang, was a research scientist at a NASA lab, and Dr. Gu is a machine learning expert, and he did his PhD at State University of New York, and he was also a research scientist at NASA. And the fourth guy, Jonas, and he's leading our commercial department. He used to work as a marketing director at Monsanto, China, and leading a team of 200 people, and taking full responsibility of the China marketing responsibility. Yeah. And he graduated from Brigham Young University with a major in soil science. So the China agriculture actually already went 4 different stages. The first one is called the natural economy stage. That's self-sufficiency level. And the second stage is called crop treated as commodity. And the third one is called using financial tools to enable commercialization. And we are going to enter the fourth, the most recent, the newest stage is called using precision agriculture technology supported by big data to bring the entire agriculture industry to a next higher level. So what is big data? What is big data? What is big data? Okay, that's right, but not the entire picture. Anybody else?
Is it like that stage that happened a while back where basically everyone was acquiring as much data as possible about everything,
okay,
so that now companies are using that data to actually do stuff with it?
Okay. That's a little more information. Anybody want to try again? Okay, so by definition, big data can be defined by 4 V. So the first one is volume. It has to be a huge amount of data set. And the second one is called velocity, speed. And you have to very quickly collect and analyze and also visualize, and to help your client or your customer and provide them some insights based on the data. And the third one is called a variety. You need more dimensions. You need more dimensions to describe the object you are trying to study, not just from precipitation level or temperature level. You need more variables. Environmental data are naturally a collection of big data that processes spatial and time attributes. As I just mentioned, weather data, satellite data, and remote sensing data by nature, they are big data. And not only each number itself called data, so images, the social network flow, and some video, they are also useful data. So data doesn't mean the numbers, it means information, valuable information. So advanced multi-source data collection and the data fusion technology, that's one we are using. So right now we have 30-year environmental data for China, US, and Europe. And all that data collection process has been automated. So every day we collect from 30 plus international satellite. With that data, we put them in and we save them and we do initial screening. And then we also have multi-weather data. We provide the API for our customers. We use a ground level weather station satellite and coupled with some drones for some pilot study. We combine all that weather data together and use our in-house machine learning trying to predict the weather conditions 7 days later. The third one is called a vector spatial database. That's one of the unique things about our database. So our database should be able to save large quantity and also give our backend engineer a fast response time. So they should be able to process that data. Traditionally, it takes several days. Right now, it only takes several minutes. This is one example showing our deep learning algorithms. So the first image on the left, that's the original satellite image taken by satellite. So it's purely gray color. You pretty much cannot tell how many land parcels are there and where are they located. It's very blurry. But by our automated deep learning algorithm, we should be able to tell each very tiny land parcel and where are they located, and if they are next to a river, or they're on a flat surface, or they're a steep next to a farmland. So this is a patent right now. It's already released, and we as GAGO is the first company worldwide to apply deep learning technology and use that in agriculture. Machine learning. This is another case we did at Shandong province. So we use deep learning technology to count how many greenhouses are in one certain province. In the old days, the central government, they want to know how many greenhouses in my controlling area. So they just send out people, and people travel several days and write down the number of greenhouses on their paper and then come back and tell the officials. But by running our algorithms, we should be able to count and calculate the total number within 5 minutes. That saves a lot of manpower. That gives the central government more visibility, and they should have a much better understanding of the capacity and the future yield of their greenhouses, like how much vegetables they're going to produce several months later. Advanced spatial data visualization. This is another project we did at Inner Mongolia province. It's called pasture management. We use NDVI, satellite NDVI data, and tell how much water and where you should apply your irrigation and how you should plan your irrigation activity. So by telling the darkness of the grain, you should be able to tell when and where you should put your water. That helps the farmers or the stakeholders save a lot of money. And this software, by the way, this software is cloud-based. So the customers, they just need to log onto the website and using their own username and password every day. And we don't have to install install anything on their own personal computer locally. So besides the agriculture production space, we also provide agriculture insurance for the financial market. So it's called precision loss estimate. The first thing we do is farmland recognition. We're using GIS and GPS technology, and we provide basically first step is a map and telling them where is your farmland actually located, and what's the historical performance of your farmland in the past 30 years. And then we monitor in real time, in near real time. It's only 2 or 3 hours delay, and the current growth of your crop in your farmland. And 1 or 2 months before you harvest, we give the yield forecast day after day. So the farmers, they should be able to tell when I should send out my man or my tractors and go to the field and do the harvesting. So in the entire agricultural life cycle, there are a lot of decisions need to make. For example, the farmers want to know how to sow seeds. How is my soil quality? Is it going to rain tomorrow? How much I should invest in my farmland? And how to control the pests and the disease? How much chemicals I should apply to this particular farmland? And what seed to use? Is my vegetable price going to go up or go down? How much fertilizer to use? And when to harvest? and how much money I can make this year. And there are many major decisions during the production cycle, mainly at five different stages: planting, before seeding, growth season, and harvest. I give a few examples right here. So there's a lot of decisions they need to make. Almost every day they have to make a decision really, really quickly. So in the old days, even right now, they just made their decisions based on their experience, based on what their father or grandfather told them to do. But that's the old-fashioned way. And right now we have this big data technology, and we should be able to tell by using the real-time satellite data and what I should do tomorrow or 1 month later. Agriculture business is shifting from weather-driven to big data-driven. So in the old days, smallholders agriculture, the first pivot they do is they use farming technology, like a large-scale machinery, to help them to increase their working efficiency and also increase their yield and reduce their cost a little bit. And then they become a large-scale agriculture practitioner. And then the next move is they use financial tools and some extra big data. And right now they're trying to pivot and shifting to digital agriculture, precision agriculture industry. So those are the two key movements they did. So GAGO service solution. So the first column is our data sources. So as I mentioned before, we use satellite, we use UAV as our major remote sensing data source. And also we use the weather monitoring and forecast results. And the third one is some historical data provided by our customers, mainly from the government census data or some university research data. And the second column is a product feature. There are key features we provide. First one called data visualization, like a platform, like a website, or the mobile app. Like the customer, the users, they can actually see what's happening and also learn our suggestions, what they should do tomorrow or 1 week later. And the second one is called a SaaS dashboard. When we say dashboard, it means there is some little tools you can play with on the website. You can select the time duration. You can select some certain criteria, and the website will tell you exactly what you should do. I will show you guys a few examples later. And the third one is called a business intelligence support. And we have 3 different types of customers. The first one is enterprise, large agriculture companies. They have a large area of land. They need to use technology, for example, satellite, to have a faster response time to know what's happening. And the second level of our customer is different level of government, state government, city government, or even the entire national government. And right now we have government partner at Jilin and Heilongjiang and the Liaoning provinces. And the third one is investment and finance. Our service model, we provide a SaaS platform. SaaS stands for software as a service. And the third one is called consulting services, 咨询服务啦，就是 case-by-case consulting service. And the third one is just direct data sale. If our customer just purely wants some data, and we can do an initial screening and download the data, do an initial screening, and sell that data as a whole, or provide an API for the customer. So some key modules in our agriculture cultivation service. The third one is called cropping area estimate. The second one is called adaptive region planning, estimate of crop growth cycle, crop productivity forecast 1 month before the harvest, soil moisture, soil moisture level monitoring in real time using satellite and ground level sensors, natural disaster forecast, normally 7 to 14 days before it's actually happened, pest and disease forecast, and a smart machinery management system, mainly for UAV right now. We have a platform, and we're teaming up with DJI. That's one of the large UAV company in China, Dajiang. We provide this platform and help them do navigation and their planning before they actually go out to the farmland. Agriculture financial service module, agricultural land productivity evaluation, agriculture ROI, return of investment analysis, efficiency assessment of agricultural resources, food process traceability of agriculture production. This is one of the hottest area so far. And the loss verification assessment for agriculture insurance and also reinsurance, agriculture insurance premium assessment, risk assessment of agriculture loans, and the data platform for agriculture financing. Besides agriculture, and we're also servicing, as I mentioned before, environmental protection area. So we're doing air quality monitoring and forecast. That's one of the government need we just learned 2 years ago, because some of you guys may know the air quality in China right now, especially in northern part of China, is so bad. So they want to use satellite remote sensing technology to mapping the large area in real time and to know what certain city right now is super polluted. And they want to cut the emission right away. For example, all the cars should stop driving and all the large factories that should shut down in the next 3 days. So we provide an early alarm and a forecast in terms of air quality management. Air pollution source apportionment, biomass burning detection and forecast, water quality monitoring and alert, environmental emergency response. For example, there is a pollutant release to the river in large scale, and we should be able to tell that in near real time, only 1 hour delay. Pollutants emission detection and alert, regional ecological monitoring and assessment, illegal land use detection. Like this type of land shouldn't be doing this. It is designed for example, construction purpose only. So we should be able to tell there's an illegal activity happening there last week, and the government, they can send some officials over there and stop that activity. So standardize the data flow. So on the left is our standardized service process. The turnaround time is normally two weeks. When we learn that need from the customer, it takes only about 2 weeks when we finally deliver a demo to the customer. If they're satisfied, we sign the contract and the service starts. So some key modules in the standardized services include user need analysis, some module selection in our entire warehouse, and the chat and demo back and forth, user needs update, solution customization, and solution improvement. And finally, after the 2 weeks, just weekly touch base tracking to see if there's any improvement we have to do from the technology side. And normally the service lasts for at least a year because it's a SaaS model, and you buy a annual subscription license. So after the license expired, you have to renew your license next year. So some standardized module over there include land positioning, land assessment, planting advice, buds rate and growth, pest monitoring, yield estimation, and cost accounting. So that's in our ERP system, enterprise resource planning system. So I'm going to show you guys 6 different cases. Those are the real projects already happening in China, and they are paid customer. Some are very small, only a few $1,000s, and some are huge ones, several million US dollars project, lasts for 3 or 5 years. Those are the true need from the customer in China, and we're providing our service to them. So the first one is pasture management at Inner Mongolia province, and this stakeholder, and he has a very large area of pasture, and every year, and they just harvest and decide, okay, tomorrow I should cut all the pasture and take them back to the warehouse and dry them and then sell them. But they just make their decision based on their experience and also based on the weather forecast given by the central government weather station, which is very, very inaccurate. So the service we're providing is high spatial resolution, a high temporal resolution weather forecast. That's one service. So we should be able to tell them 14 days earlier, like how the weather gonna be 14 days later, and also for each single land parcel, not from one certain city or one certain area. That's large spatial scale. We provide much finer and a smaller spatial scale forecast. And the second one is irrigation advice. So based on our satellite data, we should be able to tell them when you should irrigate and water your pasture and for how much. So that helps the farmers save a lot of money. For example, last year in 2016, by using our service, they saved over 300,000 RMB per month just from the water bill. So that's about 50K US dollars per month. Case number 2. This is a project in Napa Valley, northern northern San Francisco Bay Area. So we provide a correlation analysis between the grape quality and the soil moisture. Some of you may already know the quality of the wine are highly dependent on the soil moisture. So by using our, so we're not doing a hardware company, so the UAV is not from us. So we're providing those UAV collected data analysis tool. By using this tool, you should be able to tell at a very fine grid and what's the soil moisture level is, and they should, and the farmers, they can plan their irrigation very accurately. Case number 3, this is one of the largest projects we do at Jilin province. It's called a corn growth management. This is a screenshot of the cloud-based SaaS dashboard we provide. So in the central, it's just a map and it's showing all their farmland. The color, the different color indicates the different stages of their corn. When they get very, very dark green, which means it's very, very close to harvest. If they're brownish, it means the land doesn't have any seed broke out from the soil. Pretty much the seed is dead, or there's no seed in the soil. So you have two options. Either you have to reseed it, or wait for the next year. Okay. So on the left-hand side is two different pivot table. The first one is 6 different factors to give a better idea of the quality of your soil when you click each pixel on the map. It's based upon the weather data, historical weather data from precipitation, solar radiation, temperature, and relative humidity, and also the flatness of your field land. If it's not very flat, for example, if it's like this, it means the land cannot conserve a lot of water, even though you irrigate very frequently, but the soil won't take a lot of water because water will go to the shallow, area. So the soil will still stay very, very dry. And those bar charts, they are the historical yield number in the past 6 years, and how your farmland for each certain parcel, how it performs. And on the right, that's a weather forecast in the next 3 days, and also your land composition for the entire area. Case number 4, agriculture insurance data service. Right now we're working with Zhongliang and Ping An Baoxian, and provide them with those data service. So this is a 1-month pilot study. They select a certain area at Heilongjiang. That's 59,000 square kilometers of area of soybeans, and there are over 180,000 land parcels. And the insurance claims in the past year is 50 to 100 million US dollars. So we provided the daily data service and the management system services to the insurance company. So they should be able to tell accurately and what has been happening in the past several months in a certain area, and what's in the future, and what's the crop yield gonna be. Case number 5 is a property insurance estimate. So the first graph is a fixed asset valuation and risk management near oil pipelines. And also we create a risk map for this area. The green indicate is safe area. The red means there will be a flooding risk for the area. If you plan to grow something over there, be careful. The last case is estimation of the burning area of forest fires. If you have a certain property or you have a farmland in a historical burning area, like in one of the scars, be careful as well. And if you are an insurance company and provide a premium insurance for your client in that area, maybe you should increase your premium because there is a higher risk. So those are the 6 real projects right now in China. Those are the true demand, and we provide a solution. The lesson I learned is, as a researcher and a scientist, is even though we have a state-of-art, very advanced technology, but if it's not what the customer need, it is useless. So I design my product. I do this in a different direction. So I normally go out to the customer and brainstorm with them and trying to learn their pain point, what they need. And then I go back to my lab and trying to find the right technology and help them to solve their problems. And this is one of the key lessons I learned in the past several years as a scientist, because the majority of the scientists, they have technology. They think about what this technology can do. And this is not the right way. You should think about it in a different direction. So that's one of the most valuable lessons if you guys want to start a company or do something other than agriculture. And this is very important. So finally, at GAGO, everybody, we truly believe we should live in harmony with the nature. And we need to minimize our negative influence on the nature and also trying to thrive. Okay, so that's pretty much a brief introduction of what we do here. And I'm open to whatever questions you guys may have. And I also have some business card with my email address. If you want to go to China for intern, for a visit, feel free to email me. Okay?
Questions? Let me ask you a couple. Pending to ask. About the satellite images. Do you have to pay for them?
Very good question. So I got this question asked for many, many times. Majority of them are free, but they are not very high resolution. For example, NASA, we're using satellite data from Moody's, and they're 100% free. But the spatial resolution only 100 kilometers or 500 meters. If you want to go lower than that, you have to use commercial satellite, and you have to pay some certain fees for the service provider company. But for agriculture and also for environmental protection industries, we don't need a very high resolution data. I would say 100 meters to 200 meters for large-scale farmland is sufficient.
Okay. Now you mentioned cloud surface. Are you using one of those commercial ones like GAGO?
When we were in the US, we used Amazon AWS. After we moved back to China, we have our own cloud services. We have our own servers in the office right now. Because the data security, data ownership in China is very frustrating. If we use a third-party service, they have part of the ownership of the data, and they can do whatever.
Oh, that's not good.
The three large companies, Baidu, Tencent, and Alibaba, you don't.
They claim ownership.
They claim ownership, and they can do whatever they want to do with that. So.
Questions, please. Architect. Yes.
Oh,
What made you go from NASA to agriculture? Like you said, you didn't really know about agriculture 3 years ago.
3 years ago, yes.
Where did that interest come from?
Long story short, personal passion. So I always feel like, as a human being, we should just do something meaningful for the entire planet. And I was a researcher for about 7 years, and writing papers and doing experiment in the lab, in the field, and publish it and got citation, and eventually become a professor, got tenured. This is good. And I will have my own research group and my own students. But I just feel like I can do these two things in parallel. And using commercial tools, using business, using capital, using venture capital, and empower my team, and still making the same impact, but from a different angle, and making a product rather than a research paper. So I'm still publishing right now. So I'm not giving up my research. I'm still publishing 5 papers every year. So.
we got to get you back often.
So as a young adult, you have to plan your career at least 20 years down the road. Don't chase the popular topics. You have to find out what your inner passion is about. Life is too short to do something you don't like. Don't waste your time.
That's being recorded. More questions, architect. One more from architect.
So how big is your company? You seem to have a lot of services that you provide.
Yeah. So people-wise, we have 70 people right now, with 67 in China, 3 in the US. And we just closed our Series A fundraising half a year ago. And right now the company is evaluated at, how to say that, 2亿人民币. That's about 200 million RMB. Yeah.
Is there a reason why you still have 2 offices instead of just one?
We are trying to explore the US market and even a Canadian market, and also Mexican market. That's why we have a small office and a small business team and going out to those potential customers. Yeah, eventually our goal is to become an international company, not only service China or India, Bangladesh, because agriculture is going to impact everybody.
Yeah.
How many customers do you serve, and in what countries? I remember you said Bangladesh and India.
1 in Australia, and almost 1 in New Zealand, and 2 in Bangladesh, and then 1 in Mongolia. That's not in Inner Mongolia province in China. That's a different country, Mongolia, and 25 plus in China.
Derek has a
good one. So maybe it's 2 questions. So in terms of your customers and stuff, since they do all the flying and get the data for you, do you see more like fixed wing technology used versus quad rotor or multi-rotor?
There are two types of customers. One is the state-owned large farms. Their technology is cutting edge, it's state of the art. They have whatever you can imagine. Like for example, 农垦集团, the 北大荒黑龙江, they have whatever you can imagine. But they don't use their service that frequently. And the equipment just sit in their warehouse and collecting dirt, pretty much. They're wasting our money. So normally we have our technician, engineer, we go out there and tell them what you can do with your equipment. And if you don't have the manpower, then we can do it for you. That's part of the service. And also, our second-tier customers, they don't have those, state-of-the-art equipment. And we have third-party partnership with some hardware companies. And then that company can come in and provide the hardware. We're still doing our big data analysis service. We bundle as an entire package and provide that to the customer.
That was the follow-up was like, so these third-party companies will go and let's say fly and gather data for you to sort of analyze?
Yeah. That's the pipeline.
Is there any inkling for your company to actually do that all in one, like try and expand and you guys build out and do the data collection as well?
Right now, we just feel like, of course, in the future, of course, we're going to do the full cycle service. But as a startup company, you have to be very, very careful about the service when you first start. If you do something you're not very, very familiar with, you need the time to learn. You need time to accumulate your experience. Time is everything. So right now we just focus on what we are really, really good at. And if the customer have other service we're not really confident about, we just leverage that to our other friend companies, and we do this together, and then we create an ecosystem.
Makes sense. Very good.
Go. 2 more.
So how do you find customers? Is there a network or farmers or?
So our first customer, very interesting, and actually it's from a high school buddy, and his family farm. That's our first customer. And then the second batch, 5 customers, just word of mouth. And the third one is our marketing and the PR team. We send out our service. We do newspaper ads. We do China Facebook ads, and people just come up and it came to us.
So I'm question, so it's probably. So how do you make sure that your satellite-based measurements, especially for agriculture, the crops, the trees, how do you make sure that that measurement is accurate? Remote sensing-based measurement usually, especially when you consider lots of disturbance
And cloud influence,
yes,
everything, yes.
Everything. Especially considering the resolution, the shade, or everything is considered together. How do you make sure it's accurate? No way to farmers. Okay, this is accurate. Then ground-based sensor, or then like proximate sensor.
We at ground level, we definitely need a reference point, and sometimes not just one. We need several, and we use this reference point as a calibrator for the satellite remote sensing data. And in order to make the customer trust your service, we use some historical results. We're telling them, 2 years ago, how's your farm performed, and we have our data and we can compare.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I have a question. So everybody wants to know, okay? So for a company, you have to generate the revenue, right? So what are the top 3 items generating the cash flow for you, and why it is generating the cash flow?
Very good. So when we first start our company, we pick our business model very, very carefully. We don't want to do to-consumer business model. In agriculture, to-consumer means to farmers, each individual farmers. Because in Chinese farmers, they don't have that very, very strong buying power. They don't have any savings at all, pretty much. And they cannot use your service and pay several thousand US dollars every year. Okay, so we do our business model like to B, to business, to direct, like to the large companies. And their pockets deep, and they have some technology drawbacks. They need some large-scale data manipulation service to help them to do those kind of mapping service. So that's step number 1.
Okay.
And step back to your question, what are the top 3 services that got the customer really, really interested? It depends. For government client, their pain point is data visualization. This is very surprising because we're thinking about government, maybe they want to know how your farmland is performing in the past 10 years, for example, and how it's going to perform next year so that I can give some advice for my local farmers and help them to thrive. But their real pain point is they don't have a management system. So as a decision maker, they wanted to be able to see what happened in my controlled region and in a fast manner. So we just provided those GIS user interface to them pretty much. And we digitalize all the data, all the information, and put all the historical numbers in each farm parcel. So they just need to move their mouse and click. They are able to tell, okay, this farmland and those guy, and he did well in the past 5 years. And this land, the owner is him, or the owner is different. And those information is very critical for the government. So we're just selling those data visualization tools for them. And the second tier customer, large business companies, they need some insight, like really insight. For example, weather forecast, pest and disease forecast. So that's our core. So deep learning, global weather simulation, forecast model, that's all come in. And we provide a data service and also the data visualization as a whole package. So it really depends. Government and business, their pain point are totally different.
Yes. Very good.
China agriculture is different from the U.S. And there's very small number of family-owned farm, and also their buying power is low.
Where would you like to see your company in 5 years?
Very good question. First of all, we want to do something other than agriculture because we are focused on the nature, on the entire environment. We are trying to provide a solution that people and the nature can live in a balance. So agriculture is just one of the key modules. And there are some certain areas we can do, of course. So I would say maybe 10 years later, and GAGO will become an environmental company, not only agriculture company.
So you plan to expand to another country other than China?
Yeah. It all depends on how the market goes. If you have enough number of customers for one certain country, we definitely need to assemble a local team in that country.
Very good. I think we have enough questions. You must be hungry now.
Thank you again. It's very exciting.
Thank you.
Oh, it's very interesting.
Thank you. Very nice talk. Very nice talk. Excellent.
Go start your company, guys.